Welcome to the Daily HiFi Podcast. Hope you guys had a good weekend. We have a special guest on today. It's Brad from Home Theater Gamer. We've also got Joe and Tell, Michael, the youth man, and Aaron from his little corner. What is up, everybody?
That's a good one. I like that.
Aaron's little corner.
I just made it up on the spot. You know how it goes. I'm like 6'5". I'm like, crap, what am I gonna say? I'm like,
done.
So
It's just
welcome everybody.
On air is not on. Aaron, you're on air. I'm used to being on.
Aaron.
Oh,
come on, man.
Hold on.
You gotta get with it.
Hook it up, man. You gotta look professional.
You're not. Why put it up if you're not gonna turn it on, right?
Yeah, right. He's off air.
Anyway.
Aaron off air.
There you go.
Aaron's off air corner.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There we go.
It's official. Yeah, man.
Now we're on air.
So,
Right.
Michael, you and Brad have known each other for a while, huh?
We have, yeah. Probably a couple years.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately.
No, I'm just kidding.
Ouch. That hurts.
That block button again.
That block button. Where's that?
Log it.
Yeah.
He keeps trying to text me. Hey, how come you haven't invited her mom, Michael? That's messed up, man. I have to
Dude.
go and invite. What's up with that?
Rough.
What's up? I thought helps you out.
He does.
Show you
He's been great.
DSP stuff. Does some camera work. All this stuff.
He helped me with lighting.
Okay, big question.
Mhm.
Does he help you out with your gaming? That's the
No.
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 He's
He's beyond help.
The one thing.
No, I'm just casual, man.
Yeah, he's beyond help anyway.
Yeah,
so
I'm just super casual.
No.
I love
he's
this.
very helpful.
I can use
He
my
is helpful when it
soundboard
comes
when
to-
Brad's here.
Oh yeah, you can.
We do
There-
talk
you
about
got a
gaming, him
soundboard
and I,
too.
a lot.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I heard you say that he's helped you with your channel, right? So
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Youth Man has literally been instrumental to the channel that people know and watch from me now. He's the one that kind of kickstarted me into starting the channel or rebranding the channel I already have into something that, home theater and gaming. So yeah, and now I'm finally starting to get more into gaming stuff again, finally. So awesome.
I love it, man.
I was telling Joe yesterday, like I didn't do shit this weekend. So like I actually got to play
There he
some
is.
Call of Duty. Oh, it was so much fun, man. There's that.
Are you enjoying the
83
proximity chat?
The what?
The proximity chat?
I don't. Oh, it's not for Warzone. Actually,
Oh.
mute everybody. Everybody's annoying. Like I don't.
Oh, yeah.
care
Yeah, you have to.
communicate
I thought
with
it is
people.
I thought it's the Warzone 2.0.
But that's part of the modern war. I don't play Warzone. I'm not a fan of like the
that's
battle royale style. Yeah. Joe's showing Mickey the magic beans. Watch out.
Oh yeah.
Mickey's gonna start tooting all over
Yeah.
the place.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here at Disneyland. I'm off in like a kind of little corner here because I
Secluded
just don't want to have
location.
like kids in the background. So you may see some people kind of like it's like at a restaurant right here.
Mhm.
I even got my mic set up here.
Hooked
You know,
up, man.
I told Brad I got to
Security
do it
comes
right.
by and
Do it
takes
right.
Joe away. No.
Yeah, if you see that happen,
Security grabs him, tackles him.
Maybe it's Mickey himself. I need them beans, Joe.
Oh,
I'll mess Mickey up.
Cracked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. How long have you had your channel, Brad?
Total for about 4 years, but I started doing home theater stuff around 2019. It was when I rebranded. But prior to that, I was doing all Bradco Gaming, I think it was called.
Mhm.
And it was
Bradco,
all
okay.
like just, I was trying something new and it didn't, I
That's
got
not-
burned out real quick.
Nice. It's not as bad as GoPro Youth Man though.
GoPro.
For sure, man.
Man,
Was that really what it's called?
Was that a
It was.
thing?
Go
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For a
GoPro
while,
Youth
yeah.
Man.
What's up, guys? GoPro Youth Man here. It was bad. I still have those videos on my
That's
channel.
good.
It's pretty
Oh,
fun.
never get rid of them.
I
like
really thought when I started my channel 4 years ago that if I just had GoPro in the name, because GoPro was big back then, and not so much now, but I'm thinking, man, if I just put GoPro in the name, man, that'll get the views. It was terrible. It didn't do nothing. So eventually I'm
Those
like, you know
keywords.
what? And that was my camera. I mean, my first home theater tour in my house was with a GoPro, and it was straight up with a fisheye lens. It was back when GoPro used to have their software that would kind of de-fisheye, I guess, fix, kind of make it look flat.
Yeah.
But they stopped kind of developing their software, and so you could no longer use it. So at one point I was without that ability to kind of de-fisheye it, and so it's like all crazy mode and just real goofy looking. GoPro Youthman was huge. I don't think so.
Hey, Brad, I heard you mention on your recent podcast that you guys were talking about Kaleidoscape and how you've been using Plex, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of talking about the differences. And you mentioned at the beginning that your system is like around the $10,000 range, and these guys may have like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And so I think you and I are more similar in that aspect, where I get to review some more expensive stuff, but I gravitate towards the less expensive stuff because I think it's a good entry point, right? I don't think a lot of people are going to just go into it and start spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's even tens of thousands, even a lot to people.
Yeah,
So
no, for sure.
I like the less expensive stuff. Yeah. What is your system? What does it consist of?
Oh man, I don't even want to say. I don't even want to say. No, so it's
I bet Radio Shack,
mine's less expensive.
realistic process.
realistic. So these are. So I'll start with the speakers themselves, which are entry level. I just want to stress that they are the Pioneer Andrew Jones speakers.
Which ones?
The FS52.
Dude, those are some of my favorite speakers ever.
Yeah.
Hey, how do we kick him off the chat with speakers that are that bad? He's not worthy.
I mean, you can,
I
but
don't even have speakers right now. I'm just kidding.
Oh no, you're good, man. You're good. No, I'm all for you say whatever you want. I can take it. No, so those I've had those for years, just because they're cheap and inexpensive, and they're great, in my opinion, just as kind of like a great starting point for people. And they're not very harsh, which I don't really like harsh sounding stuff. But then I have 4 SVS subwoofers. I have 2 PB 2000 Pros. I'm actually reviewing the PB 3000s right now. And then I have 2 PB 1000 Pros behind the seats in like a far field, near field setup with a mini DSP 2x4 HD. Then I have a Denon X2300W. That's probably the next thing that I'm going to upgrade, just because I want HDMI 2.1.
Dude, I got like 7 AVRs, dude. Hit me up, dude. I'll send you one of these fucking things.
All right, yeah. I will. We'll talk after. We'll talk after. Then for Blu-ray, I don't remember what the Blu-ray player is. It's a LG UB57 something. I don't know. It's 4K player. And then LG C1 OLED it's a 77-inch for my main display.
All right.
And then,
Yeah.
And then all
ceiling
good,
speakers solid choices,
are Aperion Audio Clearest 6Cs in ceiling. I put it in drop ceiling, so I'm going to be reviewing a bunch of different in ceiling speakers to kind of see like what sounds good. But and then all the console, like the PS5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and that's pretty much. Oh, Apple TV. I don't know if you want everything. Apple TV, Nvidia Shield.
Okay, you want both routes. All right. Same here.
The Nvidia Shield is strictly for Plex only. It's okay. I will die on this hill. It's an awful streaming box. The Apple 4K TV.
Joe. Sorry,
Joe.
What is
the Nvidia Shield for Disney Plus, Netflix? I'm Apple 4K TV all the way. It's what it is? It's the auto refresh rate switching, the lack of it on the Nvidia Shield for those types of apps. I just don't want to deal with it.
I have both. Shauna. So I got both. I got 2 Apple TVs and I got a
I'm just
Shield
messing with Joe,
and a Shield Pro.
He's always saying that the Shield is the best streamer. So
I got the older Shield
for Plex, specifically for Plex.
Although I have to say, if you're watching anything on Hulu, that AI upscaling, it's pretty awesome.
It does a pretty good job. Yeah, especially for like on your Plex server, if you have like some SDR stuff, like I have Gravity, the Diamond Lux Edition ripped onto that, which that's like one of my go-to Atmos demo discs. It's great for that. I find it depending on the source material, it can either look great or it can just look like crap.
So,
yeah. So that's interesting because those FS52 speakers were some of my favorites. At the time, I think I bought I forgot. I think maybe 2 of them for $119. Something ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
So
they were cheap.
at one point, I had like 4 of them, 4 floor standing ones, just because they're so inexpensive. I'm like, if I have to give these away to somebody, it's just a nice, some nice speakers.
Yeah,
They're,
for sure.
They're kind of magical, those speakers, but they're a
I
little
agree.
bit kind of dark in some way. They're kind of weird. They're kind of weird.
Yeah,
They're
and
kinda
then
weird, but
their bass response isn't the best either in my room, at least. So
yeah,
I
Joe,
crossed them over
yeah,
kind of high.
It just dawned on me,
that
bro.
price though.
You do you say they're magical. You do a giveaway. Somebody orders magic beans, you give them some magic speakers, right? Boom.
Actually,
right there.
they
marketing wheels
burned
are
in the
turning.
storage fires. They burned in the storage
Ah.
fire, so there's nobody getting anything. So
Your
it's not
beans?
done. Yeah,
no,
well,
the speakers, dude. Speakers.
they don't burn beans.
That's baked beans.
So with the inexpensive system, here's what I like is kind of the challenge of it, right? If you want that to sound good, you have to calibrate it well.
Mhm.
You really have to dial stuff in, because if it's just, your speakers versus, speakers that are much more expensive that are also designed well, because we know there's stuff that is expensive and still pretty bad design. But like, let's say your setup versus, or even my setup, I'm using a Monolith Encore B6. I mean, these are pretty inexpensive speakers, right?
Yeah.
I have to calibrate them well, because if you put them up against some pretty decent KEF speakers, I mean, the KEF will probably blow them away. So
Yeah.
I think you're into that, right? All the
Absolutely.
calibration type of stuff.
I mean, I always say like calibration is definitely like you start before you even set them up. Like you have to, like, if you want good sound out of any speaker, the room is like your worst and can be your worst enemy, right? So, but setting up those speakers in the right positioning and everything that can go a long way. And the great thing about that is when you learn on cheap speakers and you go to upgrade to more expensive speakers down the road, and you've done everything you can for your room, like, calibration and treating that room will go so far. I know I'm kind of straying off topic, but as someone who just recently built their own acoustic panels and heard the difference for myself, it's like, it's night and day. It brought out details and stuff that I never even heard, and I'm not even exaggerating. It was literally night and day.
Can anybody hear it from the kitchen? I'm just kidding. The difference. I'll buy some panels off of you for like $11. Is that a good deal?
He's trying to get a youth man deal. Dude, the shipping would cost you way more, bro.
Sorry, Joe. No youth man deals here. No youth man deals.
$11.
$11.
Actually, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shauna. Go ahead.
All you talk about myself. That's all. No, go ahead. That's Brad's questions. Yeah, I know.
Who's on first?
I was just gonna say, I'm lucky. I actually I had this studio built and already foamed to the, like, there's even foam here. This is all just this whole, my hand. This whole thing is all extra foam. Like, I have 2 Auralux studio kits that I put in here because this is a music studio before I ever made any YouTube videos. And since we also have carpet on the ground here, and when I put in my 11-channel system here, I was just like, oh man, this is so much better than my living room. Like, I don't even want to watch anything up there. It's so bad because the equipment price in here is a lot cheaper than what's upstairs. So
it's just the correct setup, right? Good,
correct
good
shape. My upstairs is all disjointed and screwy. But that's when like things like Dirac Live really come into play, when your room is not perfect, and it also the magic beans as well. Far like go way better than Wipeout and standard Odyssey, because my room's like messed up. So
I'm curious, Brad, do you run Odyssey? Like, how do you run your system when it comes to calibration? Do you use like the Multi-QX?
Yeah. No, actually, no, I don't use Multi-EQ or Multi-QX, whatever it's called. I haven't delved into that $200 piece of software yet. But I do run Odyssey, just the through the app, like the Multi-EQ editor app. but I go like, you run it and then you go in and like I disable sub correction completely because I do everything myself through the mini DSP. And then it took me a while to find, like I run curtains on all my speakers. So like I only have Odyssey correcting up to I think 500 or 600 hertz in my room. In this house, in the other house, I did it up to 1,000 because that sounded and measured the best overall. So yeah, I think just that $20 additional purchase, while it sucks, improved my sound like tenfold just by doing that. Like
by not letting it correct certain things, right? Like you don't get to
and even being able, even being able to go in and like, I mean, I'll be honest, for like trying to make fine-tune adjustments on the multi EQ editor app, even on like a big iPad, it's awful, man. Even with like an Apple Pencil, like you have to use like I started using something, or started looking into something called Rat Buddy on the
Rat Odyssey, yeah.
Odyssey or whatever it's called, yeah. And even that, it's kind of like, oh, it's cool, but like I could never get it to like get to a point where I felt comfortable enough making a video about it because I could never get it to function. Same with multi-sub optimizer. You and I were talking about that. I've used it numerous times and I've never been completely happy with the results outside of what I can do manually myself.
Yeah, I can get pretty good results, but you can mess up a lot of stuff there too and make it worse.
Yeah. It's gotten a lot better though. It used to be.
Rat Odyssey is tricky because I think it says right there, like if it could mess up your system like somehow, but it's not our fault. So like
I've never heard of that.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to take that risk.
Yeah, it's a very basic, like, or not to say basic, but it's a very, it's free, but it's very rough around the edges in my opinion. Like trying to get it to, like, there's a lot of stuff that you just have to figure out yourself. I felt like, because I'm like, okay, well if I add this point here and that point here, it's kind of difficult. So
yeah, I think Multi-QX is worth it. I think you're gonna enjoy it. If you get it, it just turns your AVR into basically a mini DSP filter bank. It's like
really,
put in your PEQs. I like it.
The thing that stopped me from
all channels.
Yeah, the thing that stopped me from, I'd reach out to Odyssey to see if they would, grant me a license just to do a review because look, I'm like, look, I've reviewed Dirac Live, your competitor. Let me review, and then I can compare them. But I never heard back, and I didn't like that it was tied to one receiver. So like, since I'm upgrading soon or might be upgrading soon, I don't want to like purchase it now and then have to purchase it again. Yep. $200 is, that's $400 right there.
Yeah.
So
I think they have like some kind of program right now for installers though, where it isn't required that you attach it to an email and Microsoft account.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. You should email them again because I think that's pretty new.
Okay.
But I love that. I think that really changed up the whole game for me. But yeah, that $20 app was not good, especially if you really wanted to get 80 hertz specifically. It's gonna be like 82, 83.
Yeah, you have to. Yep. I think I'm doing 501 hertz curtains right now because I can't get 500. Right. But it's really, honestly, it's great if you want to disable mid-range compensation. If you want to limit curtains to a certain, you know what I mean? Like, it's very basic in its functionality. But what I found is it's still like, even though you completely remove the correction from the sub, there's still a little bit of they do a little bit to it. So like if you measure it without it and then with it and then without it, it's like, something's going on, but it's not, it's honestly negligible. It's just my OCD is like, I don't want this changed at all. Odyssey, don't touch it. Touch it.
Yes, I hear you. No, we talked about some videos that you're proud of that maybe didn't do so well, and that happens, right? Michael, Aaron, all of us, we kind of talk about videos where like you think it's gonna be a hit, and you spent time, you
poured your heart and soul in that.
Yeah,
and then you get the views, you're like, oh, what's up with that? Yeah. And when I asked you, you said it was the one. What was it? About
why is is something like why is calibration so important, or is calibration necessary, or something like that. It was a while ago, and
this one right here, is calibration really that?
Yeah, is calibration really that important? Yeah.
Got the nice thumbnail right there. It kind of looks familiar. Okay.
Oh yeah, that was my that was my. I was going through my Andrew Robinson phase, trying to do my thumbnails like him. So
that's
yeah,
why
no,
it didn't do well, huh?
That's probably why. No, I mean that Chana and his Roadcaster. We need to get you some new sounds, man.
Yeah,
Just a little stock sound effects. Yeah, I made that video because I would get comments of people just like, why, like, what is an SPL meter? Like, why is this even important? Like, this is just too much, right? And I'm like, well, you're on a home theater centric channel. I mean, it's in the name. So I would hope that like you would at least want to learn a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come here and learn a little bit. And this was just a video where I was like trying to explain, look, like you could spend all this money in the world and throw your speakers in a room and they sound like garbage,
Yeah.
So you can, spend $4,000 on a OLED display and run it in vivid mode. And it's not gonna, I mean, you can, but for, if you want to get the most out of it, and it's also, the calibration is really difficult as like the internet has become so popular. People can go on YouTube and learn, how to do some of the stuff themselves. But there's also a lot of, I don't want to say misinformation, but like what's part of that video is like, what's the point of calibration? And it's like, okay, movies are, mastered to a certain standard on the audio and video side. So if your goal is to make your display and your audio system sound as close to, what this stuff is being mixed on and what the stuff is being color corrected on and things like that, then yeah, calibration, like that's kind of the whole point. But then you can take a step further. It's like, here's my baseline, right? But I want a little more bass, or I might want a little more brightness, or I might want a little more color. So where the baseline is and you know how to make those adjustments higher than that. Does that make sense? I see Joe's face and I was like, did I say something wrong?
No, it's not that. It's so real quick. Why are you proud of that? Like, did you spend a lot of time doing something in particular? Like, because it seemed very well scripted. Like it's very smooth.
Yeah. I mean, that was like one of those
stuff, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I normally use a teleprompter for most things. So, and I think that was one of those videos where like I scripted it out because I'm like, I've been passionate about calibration stuff for basically since I got into home theater. Yep. And so it was kind of like that passion project for me where I'm like, people are going to like this video. They're going to learn some stuff, I hope, from it. And they're going to understand like why, when I pay someone $500 and they leave, I think my display looks worse because I'm used to watching it in vivid. Like I was trying to explain like why.
There's there's that fine line of like, you see it in all the Facebook groups. You see it in, everywhere. Like, oh, are you going to get it calibrated? I got this new TV. Yeah, you're going to get it calibrated. And they're like, I got this calibration and this looks dull. This looks like real life. Like they wanted to, everybody wants that cartoony. And that's why Samsung is still the number one TV selling brand in the United States, because they have that. Even walking into the 4K TV shootout last year, right? I was a judge. I walk in and I'm like, God, that looks great. That must be the Samsung. And I walked up. I'm like, yeah, that's the Samsung. And like, I did vote for it on a few items, but closer inspection, when you're like nitpicking tiny details, it starts to show its flaws. But walking into the room, I see 5 panels in front of me. I'm like, oh, that looks great. It's got to be the Samsung. It's just one of those things. So everybody's used to that. And then when you actually do the calibration, some people are like, yeah, I liked it the other way.
Why'd you turn my sharpness all the way down?
But the best part is vivid mode is still there if they want to use it.
Right. You can switch back to this when you want to, or hey, you paid $500. What you do with your set after I leave is up to you.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of crazy. Like when I was reviewing TVs, I was like, you know what? It's going to be better if I give my opinion on the TV if it's after it's calibrated. So that at least, like you're saying, there's a baseline for each TV. So then I spent, $2,500 on calibration equipment and spent like, 7 or 8 days on the phone with the guys at Portrait Displays.
Oh yeah.
And like, he was just using TeamViewer to see what's on my computer, and I had the TV in front of me, and he's like, okay, let's take these readings, and this is why we take these these readings, and then we do it in this order and all this. And I was just taking notes, and he was so nice. He's helped me. He just taught me how to calibrate over the phone. It's so weird.
That's crazy. Yeah. What
Yeah,
I
and
will
then-
say, like I've started diving more into video calibration now that I got the LG C1. And personally, to me, that display in particular of all the OLEDs, really that series, the C1 and the G1, definitely need a little bit of help in the shadow detail department because they do crush blacks
Just
pretty
a little bit, yeah.
pretty right out of the box. So you know, I went the cheap route. I was like, what can a $500 purchase get you with a cheap $200 or $300 colorimeter or colorimeter, whatever you call it, and Calman home for LG. And man, like, it just amazes me how calibration has come so far, where like, especially with the way that talks to each other, it's kind of like an automatic process almost. It can be like with AutoCal.
Yeah.
Will you get like professional results? No, I mean, you're not spending, $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 on a Klein, meter.
I mean,
and
it's, honestly, I think it's more of the time, right? And certain TVs are just bad. Samsung game mode looks booty. Oh,
yeah.
It took me about 7 hours to get HDR game mode, like to look good. First, I got it to like where it should be at reference level for the grayscale and for the color, but the picture just looked like ass. Like it looked so bad that I actually had to change all kinds of things and then kept diving into the menus and finally got something that looked great. But it just took that much time, and that's something AutoCal is not going to do. And for the majority of game modes, majority of calibrators won't even touch game mode because it's already like spiking way too much blue. So there's a lot to, so that's a lot. It's just a lot of work. They don't want to be at your house for 12 hours. Like I wouldn't want somebody at my house for 12 hours either.
Yeah, running through all of
Especially
the
Joe.
Michael came over one time. No, diving into the whole Calman calibration stuff is like, I basically had 6 modes to calibrate. So like standard dynamic range, HDR10, and Dolby Vision, but then all of the game modes for each. And luckily, they all turned out great. The only downside is when you calibrate Dolby Vision that way, without an external pattern generator, you can't see the before and after. Like you can take the pre-calibration measurements and then the post-cal with HDR10 or standard dynamic range and see the difference of what the calibration made. Well, Dolby Vision, you're like, I guess it's right. I don't know. Dolby Vision is still like hard to calibrate.
Yeah, even manually, it's not easy. So, sometimes, like if you go virtual or perceptual, there's different types of Dolby Vision. Yeah, like what the software is sent to the pattern generator. So you got to figure all that out too.
Far more complicated than it used to be. I used to calibrate just standard dynamic range displays like 10, 12 years ago, and it still took a while, but like you didn't have all these, the EOT, like you hadn't have to worry about like the EOTF and all that. Like the HDR and Dolby Vision add another level of complexity on top of, calibration, which is already complex enough. So
is this what you're talking about when you told me that you're doing some kind of HDR analysis? Is this
no? So actually, it's not anything with that. No, basically, I figured out a way to take screenshots off of like an Xbox or PlayStation and in HDR and bring it into the PC and use software to actually analyze like what's the peak brightness like, and that's actually been really kind of instrumental in the past couple videos I've done about HDR settings on video games, because with video games, I'm actually doing a live stream coming up Friday night with a friend of mine. And it's basically HDR gaming is a complete mess. There's no standard like there is for movies. Most movies on a disc or through streaming can look pretty good. But with gaming, it's all over the place. It's like some games look great out of the box. Other games you need to go like, why are my black levels raised? Like what's going on? A lot of games are just fake HDR straight up.
All right. So big question.
Sure.
How do you view, or what do you think of HGIG?
Oh, so
what are you guys even talking about?
HGIG, I don't know the technical name for it, but essentially it is a way for you to turn the display's tone mapping completely off. like disable it completely.
Mhm.
And so like on the Xbox Series X, Series S, I even think like the One X,
So the One X, yeah.
so, yeah, the PS5, they have HDR calibration screens within the system level. So you go in and you set those up.
Mhm.
And then
So-
theoretically, right? You go into a game and like, oh, you're going to get a great HDR experience, but not every game supports that system level calibration, which is why settings videos do so well on the internet.
Yeah.
So
So
you were gonna.
Basically, Joe, this is what's happening, and everybody else watching.
All right.
There's two HDRs happening if you on certain games. So like there's the one from the system, and then the TV's like, oh, this has HDR. Let's spruce it up. So when you turn on HDIG, you turn off the TV's one,
And just let the
right?
game
and let
system
the console do it. So that's so that the picture will look normal.
Yeah, and LG's settings are kind of confusing because they list 3 different modes. It's called HDR tone mapping, right? And Chani, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Mhm.
So it's like I don't think it applies to Dolby Vision because you can't change anything there. But with HDR10, it's tone mapping on, tone mapping off, and then HDIG. You think tone mapping off is just you're disabling tone mapping. No, you're just doing a static tone map at like what the display can reproduce. So it's going to clip at, or it's going to roll off at like 800 nits on like an LG C1, but like it's not going to hard clip anything above that. So you could still set it to like 2000 or 3000 and it'll still tone map that down to the capabilities of the display. How far into this like techie nerdy stuff do you guys want to get?
I don't know. Reggie says, boy, this guy Brad seems to know what he's talking about.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm very passionate. I do a lot of research, hours and hours.
Let me drop
Well,
links to his channel here in the chat so you guys can go
there will
follow.
definitely be one on the final video. I already put it.
Oh, okay.
Also. But what I like is that you kind of found like a workaround. You know, I like to think of myself as a hacker. You know what I mean? Like I can figure stuff out, and I try to do stuff that the system's not supposed to do, almost. Right?
I mean,
like the fact that you're taking screenshots from there and then analyzing those, kind of like a workaround to try to get the information that you want, but they didn't provide it. You know, you have to figure out a way to get it. You know what I mean?
And it's cool because you can take it, and I've actually learned this from watching other videos, and it's like a free viewer on Windows that you bring it into. It's like in the Microsoft, it's called like HDR image viewer or something, but it's cool. It'll tell you. You can even look at heat maps of like the HDR, like, you know, where the peak, like, so you can tell if a game supports that system level calibration or not. So if you intentionally set that system level calibration up on like an Xbox wrong, and then you take a screenshot and then you set it up correctly, well, it'll tell you, okay, it's either going to recognize that those settings or not. And you instantly be able to tell because the peak brightness will be like, what?
You guys are funny. The Reggie seal of approval. Even Joe hasn't gotten that yet. That's true.
Look at that. Good job, Brad.
Thank you. I don't even know what that means, but I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Reggie busts all our butts. So for him to say, man, Brad's a good dude. That's a big compliment.
I don't do much gaming, but like the thing that I would say that's related to what you related to hacking is when I had the Sega Genesis. I don't know if you ever tried this, but if you let the Sega logo run on like Sonic, take it out and then put in a different game, sometimes like different stuff would happen. It's like a weird thing that I don't know. I was just like in a rush in time. I just took it out while the Sega loaded, put in Mortal Kombat, and like I started getting like different like moves. Like they would do all kinds of crazy stuff as if I had like a Game Genie type thing on.
Anybody here play Mortal Kombat on the Genesis and remember the blood code that you put in at the
ABAC, ABB?
Yep, there you go.
Dang.
So the PlayStation 1 actually had a thing where like on racing games like Gran Turismo, and I think there was a game called Destruction Derby. Once you go into the game, you could actually open the disc tray because it had loaded it to memory and then pop in a CD and just play your own soundtrack. Obviously, as soon as the race ended, the game like froze up and you had to restart. But I remember discovering that and I was like, that's cool. What happens if I put a PlayStation CD in a CD player? Oh, it plays music from the game. Like it would just read music files from the disc.
Yeah.
See, it's those types of, I like that. I like that because you have to try to experiment and just, you got to figure things out. And it's often folks like us who are like, hey, did you ever notice this? Like, who would do that?
Yeah.
Why would you even try that? That's such a weird thing to try.
I don't
There
know.
was-
Anyway,
there was
no
um,
internet at that time, really,
No.
to discover
it was
anything,
all
so
word
you
of
just
mouth.
did it. Yeah.
Trial and
It was
error.
all word of mouth. How do you do that? Like, heart ripping out in Mortal Kombat. Oh, you got to go right down, right. High punch, high kick at the same time. Like,
Game Pro and EGN.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Game Fan.
Yeah. There was on the
Electronic-
Sega Master System, not the Genesis, the first
The
one.
one before that, yeah.
If you didn't put in a game and turned it on and waited long enough, there was a maze game that came up. I got to like level 40. And it was just this little snail, and you would go through the maze, and then you get to the next maze, and then you go through that again. So that was also one. And that was like, my mom was like, "No, I'm not spending the money on a Nintendo. You're gonna get this thing." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And then there it was. Maze game.
I hope
hey,
you guys can't hear the music here. By the way, I will get to the questions,
No, we
Shauna,
can't
for
hear
sure. But
There's
they're playing all kinds of music here, so I don't want to,
We don't hear
mess up this
anything.
whole
We don't hear
stream like
anything.
that. But I do
Yeah.
have this crisp on that's supposed to take out background
That
sound.
sounds-
So
Dude,
Sound
it's
great.
killing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no
Awesome.
You don't
background.
even. Yeah, sounds good.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the questions here, Shauna, let's get to some.
Yeah, Richard asks, if a Blu-ray is set to bitstream, does it send out all video formats, HDR10, 10 plus, Dolby Vision to the receiver, or to TV to be processed? Okay, first things first. Bitstream is only audio. Bitstream has nothing to do with video. You need to set your Blu-ray player to bitstream so you can get Dolby Atmos, DTSX, IMAX Enhanced, all that nonsense. As far as HDR formats, they will always have an HDR10 base layer. So if there's Alita Battle Angel, where is it? And 1917 have both HDR10 plus and Dolby Vision. So, and I know this because my ripping software is just confused. Like it just gets, because it
Trying
says
to
both
fold
of
down
them.
both layers.
Right. So when I'll extract like an ISO and then try to play it in the Zapedi doesn't know what to do either. Right. So I actually have to pull out just the movie. So there is no Dolby Vision, no HDR10 plus, and then it works. Or just use the disc. But you will always have an HDR10 base layer for all these 4K discs, and that's pretty much it. And Bitstream is just for the audio; that has nothing to do with video. Good question.
I know
Victor
we're on
asked,
the. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I know we're in the high-end home theater stuff, but if you're using either a PlayStation 5 or Xbox to play your discs, neither of those support Dolby Vision. Outside of the Xbox, supporting it on like Netflix and
Streaming,
yeah,
streaming.
but nothing, no physical media, can't read it.
And I would highly recommend, if you're really into movies and stuff like that, just get yourself a standalone Blu-ray player. They're Christmas time, they're cheap. I got if you run a projector, you don't need Dolby Vision. The Panasonic 420 UB420 was only like $150. That's pretty cheap. But that was during Christmas time. So yeah, you can find some good deals out there. Joe, can you do your magic beans to the Denon 4700H? Big sale on those things right now.
100%. Anything that can run the Odyssey editor app can run Multi-QX. So different versions of Multi-Q, they have XT, XT32. They just have different resolutions. So I would apply stuff the same way, but the higher end AVRs will do the corrections more accurately. So yeah, it'll work on that one. Has the higher end XT32. So that's the AVR that I had prior to the X6700H. Thanks, Shauna. So yeah, for sure, 100% it'll work on that. I know from experience. What else we got?
Awesome. This one for Brad. From Juan. Brad, your mini DSP tutorials helped me tremendously in setting up dual subs.
Oh, thank you. Put a lot of time into those videos.
You have any quick tips, for REW or for mini DSP? Like what's something
you asked me this, and I totally. I remember you asked me this the other day, and I was like, I think so, and I never even thought of any. I mean, really basic stuff that people get wrong with the mini DSP is not setting their like output, or they'll do both sub inputs out of their receiver into the mini DSP, which you don't really need to do. You just need to just go one. You're overcomplicating stuff, especially if if you have a newer newer receiver that has dual outs that are independent, that have different distance levels and different distance settings and levels, you're kind of adding more complexity than you need to. That would be very helpful if you had like maybe 8 subs and you needed 2 mini DSPs. But just that's like one of the big things. I get that question all the time. It's something I never even talked about, I don't think, in any of the videos. Is just one output from your receiver into the mini DSP is all you need for your subs.
You know, there's that acronym that comes to mind, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
That's it. That's it.
Right? Just one.
Who are they referring to as stupid in that one?
What's that?
Anyone, everyone. Keep it simple. I do it all the time.
I always wonder, like, are they saying like keep it simple and stupid, or are they calling you stupid?
I think we are the person is the stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Stop trying to overcomplicate something that's simple.
Okay.
That's how I interpret it.
That's what I see.
Anyway, continue.
Okay, so one
mini
sub
DSP
out.
tips.
Don't use both.
One sub out. Yeah, don't use both. And then I think for REW, it's just never loading your calibration files. I've seen that like other people. Like I helped a couple people set up. I'm like, you bought this mic for like $120, and like you're like, yeah, your measurements. I don't do before and after measurements, and I'm like, yeah, you definitely want to load those up. They're like, well, where do I even get them? It's like, can't help you there. Here's the link.
Yeah. So having even the wrong calibration file, right? Because there's the 90
like if they're not using the 90 degree, if they're just they got it pointing straight up, but they're using just the regular one. I'm like, you're not gonna. That's for measuring on axis, speakers, and you want the 90 degree one if you're having that set up, that way.
Yeah, I'll even add to that and say, double check to make sure that you actually have the U mic processing the audio, because if you disconnect that on the Mac, I don't know if it's like that on. If you disconnect it and reconnect it, you'd think it's just gonna start using it again.
Find it again.
It doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
Like if I've measured a few times, like what
using
what's
the Mac
happening
mic
with the measurement? It's like using an
internal mic. Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I would always say is, so I use REW to level match my speakers because I don't trust Odyssey's, level matching. So I like to set everything up at 0 dB on the receiver. And so in order to get it to read, you have to set REW to -30 dBSF. Problem is, sometimes I'll set it back to -12, or I'll go to do a measurement and forget that it's at -12 and just get blasted with sound. So make sure that when you go to set, like if you're doing level matching, make sure you return that volume down on the receiver again before you go to take a measurement, or at least make sure that the measurement you're taking is at -30 when you go to, before you hit start. It's something that I still do. And I'm
wake up call.
Yeah. I'm like telling my wife, Trish, it's okay. It's okay. I'm alive. May have broken a subwoofer, but
Billy P says, Brad, ever thought about a live mini DSP Q&A?
I have not actually, but that's actually a really, really good idea. I've thought about actually, now that I have access to StreamYard Pro, doing like live mini DSP calibrations. Like,
that would be cool.
Starting from scratch on my system, zero everything out, just walk people through in real. Yep. I mean, it might take 2 or 3 hours, but people can reference the.
You know what we should do?
One as another computer, right? So you can have your laptop or whatever, and then this computer to do that.
Yeah. I've been like loving StreamYard Pro. Just like they have like the multicams, like you can have like 2 cameras and everything. So I'm like, this is cool. So I'm able to like just switch back and forth in real time. So that's pretty neat. So yeah, I might do that in the future.
Maybe we could do like a simple calibration together, right? And just like pick somebody and say, hey, we'll hook you up. Like do it on somebody's real system, right?
Yeah.
All the issues and everything, right? So you get to see the raw, all the problems.
How do we solve this? And why do we get worse response when we re-engage the crossovers? And like, how do you figure that out remotely? That's really hard. I've run into that numerous times on systems where I just all of a sudden it's like, okay, the sub response was great, and now even though I'm crossing them over at like 100 hertz or something, or 80 hertz, suddenly all the stuff below it is affected. I'm like it's really hard to troubleshoot stuff remotely depending on the complexity of the system too. So that's but that would be fun. That would actually be a fun thing to just sit down and do.
They're saying I brought my mic to Disneyland. Yeah, I actually brought
Hey,
my
I noticed
Motu
that
M2.
too. I'm like,
I got my Motu M2 under
You
here.
got
Look at
lights.
this
Look-
fool,
Dude.
like,
Look at this
it's like,
in my backpack.
He's like
Yes.
showing like it's
That's
like I
dedication.
can't show anybody.
yeah,
What is in here?
yeah. No, that's great, dude. That's great. It's like me. I have a bag that I take with me to work. Like I'm going to work tonight. It's got like 4 hard drives, a bunch of different cables, HDMI, all this stuff to do a whole bunch of work. But look at that.
I didn't want to
That
have
is
bad
dedication.
audio. You know
Good
what I mean?
job.
No,
Yeah.
bad audio.
Can't
It's
be an
not-
audio
it's not
channel have
acceptable.
bad audio.
No.
I mean, some people
It's a
can get
no-no.
away with it for a decade, but you know, I don't want to do that. Technical question here. I have an 18-foot wide by 18-foot or by 8-foot long space. Can you have 6 Atmos speakers, or am I limited to 4? What's your opinion on monitor audio FX7Gs, which you'll have in a 7.1? So
8 foot
takers?
long is not very deep. To have 6.
I mean,
above.
I've seen somebody do 6 high channels for one row for one couch. Your buddy Chris, he did that in his house.
Yeah.
So I mean,
You know,
I think it can be done.
Might be
Are
overkill.
Oh, dude, 100%. Do all of it. 6 high channels, is overkill. Period. Okay, let's be real on that.
Well, here's the thing. If you've got multiple rows of seating, that's where I really, really, really advocate, like, get more Atmos speakers up there. If you got 2-3 rows of seating, it'd be really hard to cover all 3 rows with 4 speakers. So
I think with an 8-foot long space, having 3 sets of speakers, you're not going to have a lot of separation between each row,
yeah,
right?
that'd be
Front,
what, 2
front,
feet
yeah,
apart.
yeah. I mean, you're better. I think you're like just go.
What about swapping it? Why don't we do 8 foot wide is the long part, or 18 feet is the long? Is there any way we can do that?
Yeah, if you
Leon?
can turn it, then that would make sense. But then I don't know. You're going to be 18 feet from a.
it doesn't mean
It just
you have
depends, like where you're.
No,
yeah,
you could be like 6 to 7 feet away from your front stage.
yeah.
Right?
Then that would make sense. That would make,
So-
especially if you have multiple rows. But yeah,
Leon, another thing to consider too is not all AVRs can support 6 Atmos speakers. So definitely make sure that your
You're
processor
getting into
or your
the
AVR. Usually they're the pretty high. And I'm not
3000,
saying you don't have one, but
or you
just
might need like a
and
pre-out
see.
situation where you're, need separate amps or something
Mhm.
for those speakers. Or
because I know I
Yeah,
think
we could kind of
even on the Marantz SR 8015. I mean, at the time that I reviewed it, I think it was probably at $3,000, and it still didn't support 6 Atmos channels. Now some of the newer ones do,
Mhm.
but even the high end one at that time did not. So, but definitely just check your AVR or your processor just to make sure. You'd hate to install them and go into the calibration or like, oh crap, it's only let me put 4 up there. That would really suck.
yeah. So next question, we'll just rapid fire because we have a few here. So Randy McMahon says, Joe, is mini DSP HD required for multi-QX? I have 6 1822 subwoofers with Boss platform, 2 per riser using Marantz 8012. And the answer is yes, you still need a mini DSP HD just because you need to control all those subwoofers, right? So all multi-QX is really doing is it'll allow you to apply pretty much as many PEQ settings to each speaker individually, but your subs don't have an individual output, right? Only a mini DSP could do something like that, and it sounds like you have a lot of stuff connected there.
In
So,
his case, he
yeah.
probably needs 2 of them.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's running
yeah. How many is
6.
that? 6. Yeah.
He's got 6 of them.
So the optimal way to calibrate subwoofers is to do them individually. So,
hang on.
I don't know,
Oh, he's got them.
it depends on your level also, because the simple way is also good, right? You can sum them and then calibrate that's good too. But for seat to seat consistency, you kind of want to do something like that MSO that we were talking about, multi-sub optimizer,
Mhm.
but that starts to get pretty complicated. So yeah, I would say get to. you'll
I think he
eventually
even had,
use them.
looking back at that, I think he has 10 drivers because he's got 6 subwoofers, and then
Oh.
he's got Boss platform,
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
10.
and there's 2 per riser, so there's 2
Hmm.
and then 4 if he's got 2 risers. So
10 of them? How many
Possibly.
is DDRC 88A? Is that 8? I think
8.
that's 8,
right?
Yeah, DDRC 88A. Yeah.
Randy, let us know in the chat.
Yeah, that's still
how
more
many-
expensive.
how many
You still
drivers you
just
have.
get 2. Just get 2 of those. Forget the 88A. That's too much. 1,000 something.
All right.
bucks.
Grave Danger says, does calibration change for different sources? This was
I think he was
in
asking about
reference-
video stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for TVs. So when you do a calibration on a TV, it's for one HDMI input, and there are some functions on the TVs that says apply to all inputs, and then you hit that, and then you're good to go for all of your sources. However, Netflix Dolby Vision is different, so you still have to there are calibration steps for those types of things.
So this one I think is Brad. You have near field subs. I have 1 near field sub. So Jason asked, does anyone know how far near field subs should be placed behind you?
Personally,
Be careful, Aaron's here. He might have some calculations here.
that's okay.
Tell you
No,
exactly.
I mean, for me, as close as you can to your to the back of the basically I recline the theater seat all the way, and then I put the sub up until I can't. I think John on one of Michael's streams was mentioning this because he has near field and he does the same thing.
Yeah.
And I've found that to basically if you put it too far away, if you're putting it a foot away, I don't know if it would technically be classified as near field anymore, would it?
Yeah, his
Aaron?
advice is whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
size
Aaron
driver you got.
might have more. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you got an 18, you want it about, within 18 inches of where your
Yeah,
back's going to
yeah.
be. If you got a 24, you got a little bit more room. You can
Yeah.
have it within 24. So that's just kind of a general rule. I don't think it's set in stone,
Yeah,
but
You
but
can play
definitely
around with
as close as you can get, that's for sure. You don't want it. Whole purpose is for it to be near field.
Yeah.
And
Right.
to be that, it needs to be pretty close to you.
Aaron, is there some kind of wavelength kind of calculation that would
Rule?
determine about how far a subwoofer should be? Because I know you've talked about it before, numerous times. You've done the whole thing, and is there an optimal distance before you start, I guess, incorporating the room?
right,
I
so-
mean, I don't,
When you're talking about subwoofers, it's different than a speaker, right? Because the speaker you're talking about where the tweeter and the mid-range would combine in waveform. But you don't really have that issue with a sub. I would say, just kind of based on how everybody else seems to be talking about it, I would say probably within a quarter of the maybe a quarter wavelength of the shortest distance from the subwoofer and you to the wall or a wall, ceiling, or whatever. Since it's sitting on the floor doesn't matter. So
he speaks.
I would kind of just guess that would be what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So hold on a second. You got to slow down. I'm the S. I'm the S on the end of the kiss. So, you know what I mean?
Right. So
stupid
here's
part.
the deal.
All right.
Subwoofer wavelengths are really, really long. So
Okay.
if you're talking about being out in free field, you're out and literally in a field, you're pretty much always going to be near field to the subwoofer wavelengths, right? 80 hertz and below. So I just did the math real fast. So the wavelength of 80 hertz, the full wavelength, is 168 inches. So what is that? 100 feet? About 14 feet. So anything within about 14 feet, you're well within the wavelength of the subwoofer. But what you guys are talking about, it seems to me like it's more in the vein of at what point does a subwoofer experience some kind of destructive or constructive interference from the walls or a sofa or anything like that? So if somebody was saying if you can give me a number, I would say maybe a quarter wavelength or a half a wavelength from the shortest distance surface. So meaning if you're sitting in a chair in the center of a 16-foot wide room, and that's the shortest distance because let's say the ceiling is 20 feet tall or something. I'm just making numbers up. So you're halfway in between 16 feet. So that's 8 feet. So I would say a quarter wavelength of that would probably be pretty darn good for saying that you're not going to have any room influence causing any kind of constructive or destructive cancellation. with that subwoofer. So a quarter wavelength of, let's see, 8 feet, about 12. Oh, that's times 12. And that is 22. Did I do that right?
Awesome.
Welcome to Aaron's Math Corner.
That's right. That's his core.
I was watching Joe's face, Aaron, while you were talking, and you guys know that meme of the woman with all the numbers like flying in front of her face? Like that was Joe.
Yeah.
He's like doing long division in his head, like
right.
No,
So yeah, a quarter wavelength of that would be, if I'm doing this right, that would be about 35 inches or so. So yeah, I mean, I think, and most of you guys are talking about being within a few feet, right, of the subwoofer. So but that's an opinion. That's not really based on anything. That's just kind of thinking that, okay, most of the time where you really start to get into issues with the walls influencing the sound is going to be if it's less than a quarter wavelength, right? And so I would say as long as you're within a quarter wavelength of the shortest distance of you versus a wall, and then you would have to do.
Okay, so within a few feet.
I'd say within a few feet,
wall's 8 feet.
You're within it. Yeah, I'd say that. But also consider that you've got a ceiling mode too, right? So that subwoofer's omnidirectional. So this is the other thing too. How big is a subwoofer? If it's
part of what you're trying to
subwoofer, right? Yeah, I mean, you
would
have to figure it all out.
Would a simple way be to say, like, take your nearest wall and then do a quarter of that would be the minimum or the maximum distance?
I think that's reasonable. Again, I'm kind of just
like a base
saying this off the
guideline,
top of my head.
right?
Yeah,
Like
I'd say that's probably a reasonable way to go
nearest
about it.
wall, take about a quarter, and that's the maximum you're.
Here's what you do: you shoot Aaron an email. Say, Aaron,
nope.
I'll fly you out to my house. Can you fix
Join
this
my
for me?
Patreon?
Can you measure? I want you to measure. Come over just to measure.
I need to see some graphs.
I got off of Facebook because I got so many freaking messages, man, in like the last 2 weeks. I just I can't do this. So I canceled my Facebook. And I got tired of telling people. I had to make an auto reply that was basically like, apologies in advance, where I'm saying, I'm sorry for telling you that I'm probably going to ignore your message. Because I just get inundated with them, man, and I just don't have time for that. This isn't my full-time job. So that's why I say you can join my Patreon if you really want to know. But
he's too popular. You're getting too popular now.
There you go. It's blowing up.
Not so much that. It's like I feel bad when I ignore people, but man, sometimes it takes me a while to get around to it. And then so I actually just had to make an auto-populated one for you though who don't know. You can do that with Facebook Messenger. So
yeah. I have one on there all the time.
Yeah, it's nice. Mine's like, if you really need help, please email me at this address, and that's really helped weed them out. And then I try to help.
If you really need help, this is my phone number.
Yeah.
Call between these hours, and we'll be right.
Yeah, at some point you do feel like you're kind of running a consultation. And I'm sure this is getting off topic, but I think you guys would have some very good insight because I'm still a small channel, man. I couldn't imagine having like the numbers that you guys have, or then there's plenty of others who have hundreds of thousands, 200, 300, 400, whatever. And the number of messages that they get, and people, the problem for me is I've had people get mad when I don't answer them. And I'm like, dude, first of all, I don't know you. I don't owe you anything. I appreciate you.
I don't
watching,
know you, man.
I don't
get off my Kool-Aid.
It's crazy how people feel entitled, but yeah. So curious.
You should
you
put
guys
that on your YouTube banner. I don't know you, and I don't owe you.
I don't know you, and I don't owe
Aaron's
you.
Audio Corner.
I'm doing all I can right now for free.
I know, right?
Yeah,
you're watching videos for free. It ain't costing you nothing.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah. Michael and I think we've talked about this, and I'm still, my channel's still relatively small. I'm about 13,500 subscribers, but I get a lot of messages on my Facebook page for Home Theater Gamer and through my email, and it's like I can't get to everything because as the channel grows, I only have so much free time, and not all of my time is like I can't just do this 100%. I love doing it, and I'm passionate, and I want to help people. At the same time, I got to feed my family. I gotta make some money, and I have free time that I want to go do other things. So I totally get it, man. I try to. I still try to respond to every comment that I can, but that's even getting to the point where it's so difficult because it's just especially with certain videos, comment sections just keep going and keep going.
Yeah, it was funny. Like over the weekend, I got a couple of like 8-page comments, like or sorry, 8-paragraph comments, not 8 pages, 8 paragraphs of comments. I just showed my wife while we were laying there. I'm like, look at this. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm reading this fucking comment. And she's like, and I'm just scroll. I'm like, look at it. She's like, oh geez. So
I always try to help someone if I can. But if it's a very, like, I've gotten very complex questions, it's like I can't, like, it's going to take me an hour to write this email back to you. It's like, unfortunately, I'm sorry, like I can't do that.
Yeah.
Ike, what's up, Ike? But yeah, we always do. He doesn't respond to my messages. That's what Ike does.
He doesn't.
I email. I text
there you go, Ike. You're in hot water, buddy. Shots fired.
He's too busy. He's too busy. He's like, if you want me to respond, you're gonna have to rain money on me.
Yep, exactly
Make
right.
it rain.
Yeah.
He rain. You know what? Okay, so here's my line, right? When it comes to giving advice to people, if it's advice that I think other people could use, right, then I don't mind responding because I'm like, oh, maybe somebody else has this question also.
Yeah.
But if it's specific to this one person system, I'm like, well, I do calibrations. If you want me to, like, you can call me up. We can do something like that. If it's just for you,
right?
That's it.
Yeah, it's tough, like, because and you guys start out the same way, the same goal. Like, ultimately, I hate to say it, but we are selling a product. That product is us and our knowledge, right? Like, if you want to make a living at YouTube, which 3 of the 5 of us do, I'm not included in that. I don't think, Brad, you do that either, right? You're not full-time,
I'm on the way. Like, that's my goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am totally not
get there,
Aaron, by the way.
Well,
I'm not.
That's right.
Because of other shit.
You probably could be if you really wanted to be. You might.
I haven't put a
I don't know. You
video
live in
out
California.
in like a month. I haven't put a video out in like a month.
That's true. That's true. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like,
But anyway,
there's a line to, you want to provide as much help. Like, I feel bad when people ask me questions and I don't have a chance to answer them, but at the same time, there's only so many questions. I mean, I've only got so much time.
well, there's just so much time, right?
Yeah.
I spent 3 hours today just getting back to comments from videos from like a couple months ago. Just because, like, they were actually, from that one video where I had people try the in ceiling versus height channels, and people actually got back to me with their insight and their experience in their home theater. So it's like, oh well, shit, you took the time to like do this test for me. I'm gonna read that, try to get back to you. I'm actually screenshotting a bunch because part 2 is the results are in, and just have like
all right,
their comments up on the screen. But yeah, it's tough.
So
100%.
Here's a quick response. Sometimes I've emailed this to companies before. When a company emails me requesting me to review something,
right,
it's different when I'm requesting something. That means I'm interested. I'm asking them for something, right? I'm asking them to send me something. But a lot of times, like, random companies will email me, hey, can you review this? And they give me instructions, like, this is how we want you. I'm like, hold up.
Yeah.
You're gonna give me instructions, and here's a PDF
to
give you more info about. I'm like, whoa, hold up a second. All right, so you're gonna make me, first of all, independent contractor. The definition is like, you don't, you do whatever you want. Like, you're paid to
independent.
So that's independent, right? The moment you start giving an instruction and telling them it has to be done, this date, they're no longer an independent contractor. They're an employee of yours, right? Yep. So they're talking to me as if I'm an employee. Like, here's the due date. We'll send it over, and here's the contract. All this stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? If I'm an employee, you got to pay me, right? If you're gonna give me instructions and tell me all this stuff to do, so I usually just send them this. This is my go-to. You see this? Forever mood. Unfortunately, I can't take on. You guys see this?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I can't take on any unpaid work to help you make money at this time. Thanks for thinking of me, and that's it.
Yeah,
works, just send them that, and
I
I'm
remember
done.
that.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny?
That.
Like, even in some of those, like, these companies reach out and like they'll have a line. You cannot say anything bad about this product. I said, okay, sorry.
I've only had one company do that, and I was like, it was like an
8-page
contract. And normally,
they do
just
that.
For you guys in the chat, typically, when you're working with a brand, let's just say Govee. This isn't sponsored. I bought these, but let's say Govee wanted me to review these. They're just going to send these to me. I get however long. Usually, I mean, they like you to do it within 30, 60, 90 days, whatever. But there's no like hard deadline because they know we have other products that we're reviewing, and they're not paying me to review this. So I'm gonna get to it when I can get to it, unfortunately. But we get to say whatever we want. You know, we make as short a video or as long a video. We put whatever points we want to talk about in the video. They don't give us a script. And so that's typical. But then there are times, like Chana said, I've gotten 6-9 page contracts that say, okay, here, like Joe said, here's the date we need it by. We need, we need it in 90 days or 60 days or whatever. And we need you. And one company told me, they're like, you can't say anything disparaging about blank this company. And I went,
like, that's not a review at that point.
That's not how
this
I
is a
roll,
paid sponsored ad.
that,
Essentially,
that totally defeats the purpose. And not that I'm going to tell everybody you're just a crappy company, but if your product isn't that great, man, I'm just going to share it's not that great.
Just like that. That's that good old sofa baton.
Yeah, I think
I was just like, I just responded to them. I'm like, I'm not making a video out of this.
Yeah.
No.
Well, they wanted me to make a second video. Like, hey, we've updated it. We made change. I'm like, dude, I hate to say it, you had your shot, man. You sent
Why
me
are you
the
showing
product.
those Govies? I like those products.
I know.
No.
People
I'll be
do.
honest.
None of us will ever
I'll
get
be honest
anything
with
free
you.
from Govee ever.
No.
I know.
Bro, this thing, let's just, all right, here we go. Cheap remote. That'll be my new thought. This thing's nothing fancy.
Tim's going to have to make sure he puts the promo thing or whatever for this excerpt.
You're a paid promotion.
Yeah. No, but no, those things work great, dude. I put them on my Christmas lights and stuff. But
no, you have a very good point. Like in every review I always do, I let people know, hey, they sent me this to review.
Yeah.
I try to be transparent if I normally, get to keep it, or whatever, but I'm always fair. Like if something's really awesome on it, but something also really sucks, I'm going to tell you about it. Like,
we'll
and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yeah.
Be nice.
That's why I feel like I'm lucky. Go ahead, Dave.
I'll be nice
into that.
Nah, that's not me.
I've done that.
I just let the audience in on the deal. I just try to tell them what the deal is, right?
Yeah.
Because they're part of the deal. If you're to be honest about it, right?
Joe, you just
These
commented on
companies
my.
would not. Yeah, these companies would not care about you if you had 0 followers, right? So obviously the followers matter, right?
That's correct.
Well, then consult with the followers, right? Consult with the viewers and see what they think of a particular deal. You know what I mean? So, like for example, Fosse Audio. Oh, my family. So Fosse Audio sent me like these 4-channel amps, right? Because I want to set them up in my studio. And I just told them if these are noisy, I'm just gonna send them right back. I'm not even gonna bother doing anything. If I hear noise,
no video,
I'll send them back to you.
Yep. Ain't worth it. Hi.
So yeah, that's a deal. Here, let's hold on 1 second. Go ahead. You guys keep going. I'm just gonna talk to my wife real quick. 1 second.
Okay. Well, here. Let's go with the Brad one. Here we go. What are your favorite games to play in a home theater system?
Oh, how long do you got? We could talk about that for a while.
And it's another second question. Should you leave Dolby Vision for gaming on Series X or off with the LG OLED?
That's a hard one. I've gone back and forth. I've never really found, unless a game natively supports Dolby Vision,
which none of them do right now.
Yeah, Halo Infinite I think is the only one.
Oh, really? They have one.
Yeah, they patched it. It initially was supported it, but it was broken. It was actually way worse. It looked way worse. The peak high, like all the highlights and stuff were just wrong in Dolby Vision, but it works. Dolby Vision is a great way to bypass the HDIG setting.
Okay.
Because it basically does the same thing. Dolby Vision's reading the maximum luminance of your display, and basically the Xbox is mapping that. So any game that you set, you could set it to 10,000 nits. Say you have like an Ubisoft game like Assassin's Creed, where it has a nit slider. You could set it to whatever you want, and it will never like hard clip anything.
Okay.
It will tone map that down. Personally, for me, I just use HDR10 most of the time. Again, that's like personal preference. I've never found much of a disparity or a benefit to using Dolby Vision. If you set up HDIG properly, then you're pretty much good to go.
Yeah. I heard more games are going to start coming out natively for Dolby Vision in 2023. but when will that happen? Who knows?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think upstairs I have it set to on. Down here it's HDR10. So
yeah, honestly, like I haven't, like I've gone back and forth. It also will depend on your display. If you're trying to do 4K 120, some displays won't do 4K 120 with Dolby Vision. I know the LGs will, but
Sony will do it. However, there is no game mode for Dolby Vision.
Gotcha.
So if you're trying to play anything that's fast-paced, competitive, you're going to get a bunch of input lag.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if you don't have a Dolby Vision for gaming mode on your display or doesn't support that, then you're better off going with the HDR10.
I'm gonna have to cut in about 5 minutes because they're waiting for me. But if there are any more,
they're closing. Mickey's
questions.
closing Disneyland. Joe's
I gotta hang out. I gotta hang out with the family. You know what I mean?
Right.
We've been here since the morning, so don't think like, oh, look at him.
I mean, you've been there all day, bro.
We come here all the time. We come here all the time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
To answer his first question, I guess the home theater.
Which games?
I'm currently going through God of War Ragnarok. I gotta say I'm a little underwhelmed by the audio presentation on that one. But some of my favorite games to play have been like the Naughty Dog titles, so like Uncharted, Last of Us 1 and 2. Even the first God of War, I feel like has better audio than that game than this one. But as far as like Dolby Atmos games, I'm currently going through the Callisto Protocol, and I really like the Atmos effects in that game a lot. This is just some of like the current stuff. I mean, I always have, but yeah, there's a lot of doors in the game that you open, and you can actually hear it roll like above and then behind you. So like you can actually hear it go over your head. I was like, this is so cool. This is so cool. And the bass response on that game is pretty sweet.
I'm still surprised that like online multiplayer Call of Duty has Atmos. So so the other human running above me on the, like, I'm hearing it.
You
like,
hear
somebody's up there.
Floor.
It's just so crazy. I'm like, they can do that in a multiplayer game. So it's keeping track of all the audio that's happening around every person in that 12 or 16 person game. Like, what?
It's an engine,
it's like, right? It's pretty impressive. Yeah.
I guess with game audio, it might be a little easier to do object-based stuff because you already have an XYZ coordinate of a sound anyway, and it's developing that sound engine.
Well, see, nobody has to mix it. It's already there.
It's real time.
It's real time. Yeah. So that's pretty cool when you think about it.
You guys, that's what I said before. Remember?
Yep.
I said they should just. Never mind. Here, how about this one? I like this question here. Joe and Brad, why when I run Odyssey on Marantz AV7706, which I've calibrated before, then get an upgrade on receiver, and for some reason Odyssey can't find speakers or calibrate?
Sounds like a setup issue almost. Like if it can't find the speakers,
I think you have to set the right layout first, right? Chana, you have to set up the correct layout for the number of speakers you have before going to calibration, because it has no idea.
Right. So if something if you get an update, see, and this is why I always tell everybody not to turn auto update on. Keep that thing off. My wife actually hates it. I have the 7706 upstairs, and it's been asking to do an update for the past month. I'm like, just leave it alone. It'll go away. Okay, that's what I tell her. But because I don't want to do it. It's also like a half an hour update is their estimated time, and I've done one before where it's estimated 15 minutes. 4 hours later, thing's still not doing anything. I'm like, oh great, this $30,000 thing got bricked. But anyway,
so for his answer, you think it's an amp assign issue? Maybe it could be
that. Those things are really strange. It's almost like I would, if I was in his shoes, I might even just do a factory reset and then get the update in again, and then rerun everything again, which is a pain in the ass. But that's what I would do.
Yeah.
If that happened to me.
Yeah, that's another cool thing about I think Odyssey editor app and the Multi-QX. You can save all of your settings
and just load them back up.
Reset, boom, send them back. You know what I mean?
Done. You can do that with Magic Beans too.
Yep. I save all the settings for them in case something happens to their computer, and I'll just load them right back up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so much that we actually I wanted to get to. We didn't get to MSO, but we'll get to that. Maybe we can get to that. Brad,
Another
some
time,
other
maybe
time.
Brad can come back. Yeah.
I think
no,
it's like
sure.
I think it's like 10 of us on the internet who are into multi-sub optimize. So yeah, we can get into that. And also you mentioned something about audio dynamic range analysis. So I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah. This kind of like
That's interesting stuff.
similar to the whole HDR image. I'm trying to like give people actual data to back up what I'm saying instead of just being like
this
it
guy.
sounds better if you do this way or
I
something.
like this guy.
So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would definitely want to get into some of that stuff. And real quick, to answer your the reason why I think that video may not have done as well as you hoped. I think sometimes these like the overview videos where you're just teaching something, like I've done one where it's like, why does a flat frequency response make sense? That's a kind of a common thing. That didn't do very well. I thought like, oh yeah, that's a simple one. It's a more generic than some of my other videos. Didn't do well. Have you found anything like that, Aaron, as far as like when you're just trying to teach somebody about something in general that it's not as effective versus like something actionable, I guess. When it's actionable, like, okay, now that I know I can do something.
Right. I mean, like a lot of my, I guess, like tutorials on how to read the data, those didn't do well, but I didn't expect them to do well. But on the flip side of that, the center channel video that I made about like why most center channels suck, I didn't think it would do that well. And that's one of my more popular videos. So I don't know what the view count is, but that was,
I think that one though is
people asking me about that one.
That one is actionable though, because if I'm trying to look between various center channels, I'm like, well, he said that this type is not good. I should look for this. So anybody making a purchasing decision, or even if you have one, you're like, oh man, I have one of those ones like this. Now I understand why it sounds weird when I move over a seat or two.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah, that was just one
like,
I just didn't think would do that well. Like I did that Amazon 10-inch subwoofer shootout a couple years ago. And I did that one pretty much knowing that one was going to do well because of what it was. And that's my most popular video so far.
Yeah, some are going to pop off and some are surprised that they do. Some are surprised that they don't. Reggie, you can see you see what kind of crowd we have here. Reggie's Reggie's Reggie. We love Reggie.
Very refreshing to hear. Reggie knows what he's talking about on this show.
I'll just tell Reggie like it is. Reggie, I don't think you have a clue what you're saying half the time, my friend. So you can say what you want about us, dude, but you wouldn't last 2 seconds in a round with any of us.
I'm
just telling you how it is. Hey man,
shots fired.
Shots fired. I'm just doing shots fired back, buddy.
I'm just gonna say this. I'm a guest, so don't target me.
I'm not.
Reggie, in all seriousness, Reggie's always talking trash. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. I gotta say it.
People.
He's a very nice guy.
Reggie can take it.
Couple random things. So I guess there's a new 4K player. Dean was talking about it, so I brought it up here on screen. This is a new Blu-ray player. So looks pretty basic, like a Blu-ray player should. Dolby Vision, HDR10+, 4K upscaling, Atmos. Okay, just so you guys know, these 4K Blu-ray players do not decode any of this stuff. So when they say compatible with Atmos, DTSX, it's a load of hogwash because it's all bitstream audio output. So, SACD, this is nice. What is it? The Panasonic players don't have that. And they got this little 18-second video here with, what is this? Is this an Avengers movie? What's happening?
This is like a video game.
Tesseract. I noticed
that's a
Tesseract. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Their Blu-ray player just exploded, I think.
No, it's gonna appear in this.
That's not good advertising out there. I mean, it's gonna explode if you buy it.
Like any of us are gonna have trouble getting any review copy of this thing.
Yeah. It's just a logo.
That's a dope video.
Yeah,
that is a dope video
cool
right
video.
there.
The only thing they have here is this
stock
guy.
photography.
UDP,
that's good.
UDP 800. I don't know.
I'd like some information to see, like, does it do HDR tone mapping at all? Like some of the Panasonic
ones. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be
HDR technology. It doesn't say there.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it.
It's supposed to be like brand new. Oh look, if you guys ever had an Oppo, do you guys recognize these things? Like this is exactly like the Oppo menus. That's hilarious.
Wow.
People are still making Oppo clones. Oh, this looks exactly like the back of an Oppo.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, they're probably Oppo went out, right? So they're trying to fill that void.
Yeah. Right.
All right, guys. I'm gonna take off. You guys can continue. I got to do my thing.
Bye, Joe.
See you guys.
Yeah. Later. Safe, dude. Take care.
Brad, I'll talk to you later. Thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Take care.
Enjoy.
All right.
He's still here.
He's still here. Post that we can start talking smack.
Hold on. Get out of here. Get out of here.
I don't want to end the broadcast by accident. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't do that.
I'm just gonna close the tab. Bye.
Yeah. There you go. Bye.
There you go.
Here's another one. It's a good one. Can a starter channel shoot a video from a cell phone?
100%.
100,000%. Yes.
It's about you and the content.
So here's the thing. I would encourage you to do that. And the reason is you need to like make just, I don't know, 50 to 100 videos to even figure out, okay, do I want to do this? I mean, you may do 5 or 10 and go, that's way too much work. Or man, I'm putting all this time in here. I'm getting 15 views, which we all have had, and that's kind of a bummer. And you may just give up early. So why invest? The gear is not going to make your channel blow up. People are either going to connect with you as a content creator and what you have to say and the value you bring to the community, or they're not. And so investing in a $6,000 camera isn't going to make your videos amazing, And so you need to refine that process, and you can do that just, with your own camera. What I would recommend is at least just get even a $20 microphone that plugs into your camera, or to your phone.
Yeah.
That way you're getting good audio. It doesn't have to be a, expensive mic, doesn't have to be a really high-end mic, but just something that can pick up your voice and get rid of some of the room, from that. So that'd be but absolutely, man, go for it. Start filming. Biggest thing is just hit record.
Yeah. I would highly recommend if you're just starting out, and you want like some tips or you're looking for really cheap gear, check out the Think Media, YouTube channel. They got a lot of like Sean Cannell and, all those guys over there do really good jobs at, providing really great information, especially for people that aren't necessarily that like tech savvy either. So like you can get into it. Yeah.
It was funny. Sean interviewed me at CES a few years ago.
I remember that. Yeah. And you mentioned uploading in 4K because it would get at the top of the list.
Yeah, there was that at the time. And then the other thing was like, well, I used an iPhone 7 Plus to make 417 YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Right. 417 videos.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually buy a camera until my channel had 35,000 subscribers. And it was actually, I could, save money from whatever the channel was making to buy. Now I have a $6,000 camera setup, which you're seeing right now. But it was like all that trial and error. And I didn't even upgrade my phone. It was like iPhone 11. I'm still on 7 Plus because I didn't want my workflow to be messed up. And so I'd record everything on the phone, but then I'd offload it to the laptop to edit there. Yeah. So that's what I would say. Lighting is huge. Microphone, like I had a lav mic. It was like $50. Plug it right into the phone.
Yep.
Until I started with, getting a shotgun mic, which I think I have somewhere around here. And those are a lot of people try to just, I'm going to invest all of this. Like, dude, I don't like, there was a time span of 2 months where I was outputting 10 videos a week. And for those of you that make content, that's a lot. That's a lot. Fucking crazy. Right. Yeah, it was 3 tech videos and I was doing a vlog every day. So I'd shoot on my iPad. And then I would shoot on my phone, and like I'm at work on my night job, and my iPad is shooting the video with me straight on, and then the phone is on the other table shooting the behind the scenes, which will go into the vlog. It was it's just ridiculous,
man.
And my wife hated it. She hated it because I was just walking everywhere holding this Osmo Mobile and my phone, and she's like, "Do you really need to be recording? Do you really need to be recording?" I'm like, "Yeah." And it was just a test. I was like, "Hey, can I Casey Neistat for 7 days in a row?" That's all I wanted to do.
That's hard.
And then I ended up doing 50 days in a row, so just over 7 weeks, right, in a row, which was ridiculous. And I had all kinds of stuff going. I had like music lessons here in the studio. I was DJing on Mondays, karaoke Tuesdays, working here on Wednesday, Thursday, and like, dude, it was nuts. So maybe just play with your phone, do it with the phone, see if you know. And I was actually doing cell phone videos before, and I was just like, I had this shop. I didn't even have 100 subscribers, but the shop in town was like, "Oh, here, borrow this phone for like 2 weeks." So I'd use the phone, and then I realized that wasn't going to work. And then I got laid off, and I had no money. I had to sell a bunch of guitars, and then I quadrupled my wedding DJ prices, and all of a sudden, no more money problems. I started upgrading my home theater, and people are asking me all these questions. "Hey, why did you get this? Why did you get that?" I was like, "Oh,
bam,
duh. I know a ton about home theater. What am I doing?" And that's when I started doing more home theater content, and here we are. There
we go.
Sometimes you don't even know. I started this to do cell phone videos, and now I'm totally not doing a cell phone video at all. Still running with an old cell phone too. But yeah, that's it right there. Just use what you got, and if it works out, out.
Yeah, I like what Michael said. Just dive in, dude, and then you'll figure out the rest as you go.
No,
because I look back at even some of the videos that I've created like this year, and I'm just like, oof, you know. So you'll continually get better. Hopefully, at least.
I'll say, I would throw a tip out there. Focus on audio first. Make sure your audio sounds good, because I always use the phrases, you can watch a video that looks bad but sounds great. But if it looks great but sounds bad, you're gonna, like, you know, your audio's clipping and all this stuff. You're gonna like stop the video. So don't lighting is definitely hugely important, but you know, find a window to shoot next to, you know, when you first start out, and get some natural lighting in there.
Dude, I have one video because I used to use this window here, and the clouds kept coming through, so it was like totally blown out, and like normal, totally blown out, normal. I like
what Croson said. He says, max out the capabilities of what you have, so you know what you need or want. Too much to start with is overwhelming.
And Joe says you can start with the phone, but eventually you want to reinvest in your channel. He's the reason why I spent all this money on cameras and lenses and all this nonsense. It's been great.
You don't need a reason, dude. You're gonna treat yourself no matter what anybody says.
So when I started the channel, I was using just what I had, which was like a Blue Snowball microphone. Not great.
Oh, a Blue?
Yeah, not great, but just for doing voiceovers, I was like, you know what? I spent $75 on this thing. It's better. But then I did go to film school back in like 2006. I had like 4 years of film school. So when I started doing video where I'm on camera, then that was like, okay, for me, I need to get this right, because I just spent all this money on this education that if I don't know how to light anything, then what was it worth? You know? So I'm not, you know, so that's, for me, it's like I started with a cheap DSLR that I had, upgraded to a Canon M50. Now I'm on the M6 Mark II. And, you know, eventually I'll upgrade, but I don't know. It fits my needs perfectly for what it is.
I mean, Brad helped me do my lighting right here, man. It looks pretty rad.
I did not help you do that.
I was about to say, wait a second. Time out. I don't know.
No, it's crappy Logitech microphone, man.
You didn't pay him.
No, this thing's like on auto exposure, so it has
good example
idea what to do.
A good example. I know we're getting off topic of like what the stream is about, but when you upgraded your camera to the Canon, which was it? It's the R6 or the R5 camera? So R6. Like, it's a really expensive camera, and you were shooting videos, and you're like, I remember you texted me, you're like, it doesn't look like I thought it would look better. You know, when you first got it, you just spent all this money, and I was like, what's your lighting? And so then I came over and I helped you set up, you know, your light, and it's like instantly it was, even with your old Nikon, like when you had your Nikon camera,
that was garbage.
I remember you sent out pictures, I think, to Joe and Shauna, and Joe was like, did you get a new camera? Like the difference was that drastic. So lighting can definitely go a long way into making even a cell phone camera look really good.
SC Audio says, still working on my first video. I learned The
He's the
master.
master.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
like,
practicing in front of the camera. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all are.
That's when I did all of those vlogs that whole time, I became so comfortable just talking into a lens that the ums and ahs started to just leave. So it literally is a practice thing. And then there's also this, like, my wife has me go do stupid shit all the time, like go to the market, go walk the dogs. And if I'm working on a video, I'm talking the video out loud, and people think I'm crazy.
Yep.
I'm in the market. So if you really want to have your Atmos, blah, 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 and I'm just talking out the video, I used to do what Brad does, the teleprompter. I could never find the right teleprompter speed. It was either too slow or too fast. It would always annoy the crap out of me. So
that's hard.
Yeah. So I would practice each part of my video by myself while I'm doing something else, going and checking the mail, going and do this, going and do that, walking the dogs, whatever. I'm talking about the video. And the smoother I get it, like I have this one video that hopefully should come out soon. But I've been building it up in my mind for the last like 3 weeks. So I could just sit in front of here and just verbal diarrhea it out and chop up the little sections and then good to go.
Man, it was bad.
Yeah. What's up?
I was looking at Joe's comment. Yeah, my Nikon was horrible, man. It was horrendous. But I didn't do any color correction or anything. But I had decent lighting, but it was bad. Really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But and then you bought my lights when I upgraded. So you started using those and everything's gotten better. Darth Jarrell asks, what receivers would you recommend that are 9.2? We currently have 5.522 receiver, but any receiver above our setup is expensive. We don't need Wi-Fi or streaming services.
They kind of come baked in at that point, don't they? Wi-Fi and streaming stuff. I mean, it's just an add-on.
Like, well,
or not an add-on, but
audio. Yeah. It's those are all going to be there, man. There's no way you can. I wish you can a la carte some of these things. Because I'm not a huge fan of Zone 2 and Zone 3. I think those things should have just gone long ago.
Listen, man, Zone 2 is incredible.
I've never used it.
I mean,
never had
the last time I made a video about Zone 2 was with an Onkyo, and you couldn't put a digital source through Zone 2. It had to be an analog source. So then now we're like, and then do I really, if it's going to go into another room of the house, am I really supposed to wire that up to this one? How about my Zone 2 just be a different AVR? I don't know. I know a lot of people use that stuff, but anyway, that is one of the things when I started this channel, which was interesting. You can buy a 7-channel receiver to do a 512 Atmos for like $400 $500.
Yeah.
And then the next step up to get 4 high channels and a 9-channel receiver was like $1,600. So it was like almost like $1,000 gap.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So Darth Jarrell, I look at now I know they haven't measured well. There's the Pioneer LX505. There is the Onkyo RZ50. Those are around $1,200 to $1,400. There's the Denon X3800H, which I just got. I think that's $1,600. So you're looking at between $1,200 and $1,600 for the entry level, I guess, 9 channels. And then, but they all do support 11-channel processing, so you can upgrade in the future with a little amp. But yeah, that's what I would go with. Any other? You guys know off the top of your head?
No,
not really. I know, Aaron.
What?
You don't know? Damn it! I turned the wrong way. Son of a
man,
it's always backwards.
Yeah.
See, I did it right the first time.
Just do
I'm
that.
an experienced professional at YouTube.
Guy thing.
Unlike you. Whatever, with
damn
you
it,
walking around.
Damn it! I
making, you did it wrong again. You freaking moron
again.
God.
Byron B says, I think home theater enthusiasts forgot how subtle Atmos sounds. If you heard Atmos in a Dolby Cinema, the above sounds are faintly used and used infrequently.
I'll agree with that. I think a lot of people want to hear Atmos when the reality is it shouldn't, just like with surrounds, they should never really call attention to themselves all the time.
Yep.
It should blend When things are above you, they're above you. But I think a lot of people think every movie should just have everything going on above you, and it's how distracting would that be if you're trying to watch a dialogue scene and oh wait, there's flies in the restaurant. Oh, I can hear them above me. So yeah, I think subtlety is definitely one of the key things that people don't expect from Atmos.
Do you like or do you prefer DTSX over Atmos tracks? Have you heard a lot like the Harry Potter? Those were all DTSX. I think the Fast and Furious ones were DTSX.
Yeah. I honestly I don't really have a preference. I've never had a movie that had both to do an A/B comparison because
I don't think you can find them unless it's something that's on Apple TV or something where they would only stream Atmos. I think that's the only way you can get one movie with both of them.
Right. I don't honestly really have a preference. They both sound great. I will say if I'm using upmixing on my receiver, I'm typically doing DTSX or DTS Neural X because I just find that it adds a bit more of a discrete feeling, a discrete sound to the overhead speakers than the DSU. That's more of just kind of like a ambiance type thing or ambience type thing. So yeah.
Martin says Atmos should be accurate in my opinion. If there's sounds where those height speakers are on the movie, then it should be present in an Atmos mix. Yeah, I buy that too. So just because and that's why I always thought space movies are always going to be great for Atmos, right? Because there's always just shit flying around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Jupiter Ascending. Horrible movie. Fantastic Atmos.
I can't watch that movie. I've watched some of the demos and I'm just I just don't get it.
Yeah.
It's cringy.
I mean, hey, it was only $6, so I bought it. I was just like,
it ain't worth my
yeah. It's so weird though, right? Because we watch I feel like home theater enthusiasts typically will watch garbage if it sounds great. And I'm the same way.
At least for the demo part. Yeah.
For the demo part. Yeah. I'll need to watch I'm not a big fan of the Transformers movies. I'm not a big fan of Michael Bay.
Yeah.
But man, if his movies don't sound good, there's scenes in there that you're like, okay, this is gonna get in the rotation of the demo. But yeah, and we all have movies that we just won't I will never watch The Greatest Showman ever. But there's people use that for demo stuff.
Dude, I'm telling you,
I'm not a musical fan. I'm not a musical fan.
Yeah,
I think that's a great
movie. Aaron cried in that movie, dude.
Dude, I cry every single time. Every time.
If I hear that Never Enough song again, I'm just gonna start charging.
I can never enough hear Never Enough.
He's getting weepy right now.
One of the weirdest demos I got is when Sony flew me out over to New York to the unveiling of the new Master Series TVs. And they do that. They have the actuators behind the screen, so the audio comes out of the screen. So they used Showman, but I'm like, oh God, you guys are idiots. Because what do you see? You see that the mouth, because they're lip syncing, it doesn't match up to the audio.
Yeah.
And it's just why would you choose this to show off your brand new, it makes it sound like people are talking through the screen. Why would you do this? So I hate the movie just for that. That's just silly.
Listen,
somebody was just not thinking.
One of my favorite movie songs is from that movie. It's when him and Zac Efron are singing in the bar. I remember
that's a good one.
The song, but it's really good song.
Right here, right now. That one.
Yeah. I'll put the offer out.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna put my headphones on to it later. That's the great thing about having the iPhone and all that stuff is I think of a song, I search for it, and I'm send to my watch, send it to my playlist. So when I go to the gym tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, don't you wanna get away? And then I'll be bench pressing, never enough. People will be like, man, that guy's really jamming. Look at him.
Look at the gains on that guy.
900 pounds. Holy crap. What is he listening to?
So something I actually wanted, because Chana, I know, mixes his own music and stuff. Something it's kind of controversial. And I'm going to say something that I know people don't agree with typically.
Well, I'm out. See y'all later.
It's all about the controversy. Let's
right. No. It's not super controversial. So basically, Christopher Nolan movies get referenced a lot.
Yeah.
In my opinion, everything post The Dark Knight, awful audio mixes, awful. Compressed, limited, they're just loud.
Oh yeah, loud
They're
as
just
fuck.
loud. In
Loud
my
as fuck.
opinion,
Yeah.
I think Christopher Nolan has a hearing problem because they're just like when I watched Dunkirk in IMAX,
Conspiracy theory right there.
I was like, "What
There you
is
go.
going on?"
I mean,
So
it,
is it impressive in certain parts? Sure, but like to me, the dynamic range is not there. Like there's not much dynamic. There are not much dynamics, especially
It's
like with
it's
Tenet.
like loud.
Tenet was
and
just
then
like
it's done. Loud.
yep.
Done. Down. Loud. Done. Right.
I remember
Um,
seeing The Dark Knight Rises in IMAX and that opening scene where they're taking over the plane. You know, Bane is there, and
Mhm.
I was just like, I remember them shooting the windows out, and my ears just like, my ears were like pierced
Yeah.
with this high
If
pitch. Like, yeah,
If I ever want to run a test on a new subwoofer or a new center channel, I always throw on Dunkirk, and I tell my wife like, "Hey, just try to
Yeah.
ignore this because it's loud. It's just
Yeah.
super loud."
and it's also all of his movies are very front heavy because he's not a big fan of surround sound in
Surround
general.
sound,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And definitely not Atmos. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. Hey, you never know, man. You could be right. You could be
Yeah.
like, what was the other one? That one real trippy one that he did, where it was just like
Tenet?
super bass heavy.
Was
Was
it
it Tenet? Tenet's
Interstellar?
the one that caught all the crap.
No,
Well,
not
there was.
Interstellar.
It's
Oh,
still
one
with
that-
I.
Yeah, I think so.
Tenet.
Tenet.
Yeah, it was all like the time.
Am I on
backwards
mute
thing.
here?
Yeah, the trippy
Yeah,
one.
again, that
That's what I
was
meant by
that was
trippy one.
another one where I was just like, this is just loud.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, I do like that. You know, like it's just kind of like a bass that has a filter that's opening up, and you know, they do that really well in like season 2, 3, 4 of Ozark, where it's just
yeah.
it really just makes the scenes like these tense scenes just dude, the subwoofers are just going crazy, and it's just like whoa, but it's so subtle because it starts like low and then just gets like bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, man, I don't know. You could be right. Who knows?
Yeah, I was just curious because, like, you know, mixing audio and stuff, you know, it's easy to mess up like compression and limiting, right? So like
sometimes people do that like all the time. Now, if a compressor and limiter, a leveling compressor like LA2A for a microphone, like when microphones compression is set up perfectly, you can like talk like this, and then you can scream, and
then it would
the input would be the same on both of them, right?
Yeah.
If you have it set up properly. A lot of people, you know, use YouTube videos and all that stuff to like learn how to do mixing and stuff like that. And like you said earlier about something else, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
I learned to mix from Pure Mix online. It was an online school taught by Fab DuPont, who does a whole lot of stuff for like Shakira and like the list goes on and on. So I learned all my mixing stuff through them because they actually do. I use an Universal Audio Apollo, and so I wanted to learn how to use all these plugins, especially since I had to pay like $2,000-$3,000 for all the plugins. I wanted to learn how to use them. So that's what I learned with. And then I used to record in here. We used to actually have jam sessions in my studio here. My buddy's drum kit was over here in the corner where the mirror is.
Yeah.
And you know, I had bass, and then I actually have I still think I have the 6 headphones. So because my kid was next door sleeping, and we would be doing jam sessions till 2, 3 in the morning on a weekday. So yeah, I had a lot of experience with that. But you know, a lot of the times, and I don't know about you guys, I know Mike's philosophy. You know, if it isn't referenced, he's not watching it.
No, you don't know me at all.
I listen to things very quietly. Actually,
I listen 10 to 15 dB below.
Flag on the plate. Flag on the plate. Did Michael just do a Bobby Brown reference? My prerogative to my philosophy?
No, I don't think. Maybe by accident.
I think that's what he did. I think he just went, it's my philosophy. I think he just did.
You saw my playlist, my 90s playlist the other day.
Oh,
and he's on there.
This is why I love Michael, because he just busts out. You know, I was like, hold up. Everything needs to stop right now. All right, but yes, he does listen at like plus 10 dB only.
Minus 10.
I'm just kidding.
I'm actually a minus 10 dB listener most of the time.
That's me.
Video games specific, like some video games are mixed, or like their levels are just really hot. So like
Sure.
I don't, but like
Yeah.
God of War is like -12.
Yeah, I don't mind demos like at -5, but I don't think I ever really go to reference.
Yeah.
you
There
know?
is something about that
Too loud.
that John Wick Chapter 3 shotgun scene at like -5.
Yeah,
That
it's
just really
impressive.
like punches. Yeah.
Yeah, right in the chest, huh?
Yep.
I listen to things pretty quietly because these puppies make the living. So especially
they
like
look
you'd be
darn good.
surprised when I'm DJing. Oh, dude, they got this new like $60,000 sound system, right? And Mammoth, and they got all of the subwoofers in, right? So dual 18 on each side, so 4 18s. On top of that, 2 12s, bandpass enclosures on these subwoofers, and then the tops have 15s in them. And then they had some other tops with 12s out onto the other side, right? And so like my booth monitor and my headphone monitor are very low,
Yeah.
very, very low to preserve my hearing. And they have that. He does it so that the 18s are taking anything from 40 hertz and below, and then the 12s were taking anything from about 200 to 40. So. So yeah, I listen to things very, very quietly. Unless I do really need to like pump up some speakers if I need to like review them or whatever. But it's not going to be for like long periods of time.
Right.
And also, my wife hates it. So every time we watch a movie together, it's always, why is it so loud? Does it need to be this loud? Can you turn that down?
Of course.
So yeah, there's also that. Let's see. We got some more questions. Yeah, let's go to this one. Oh, some people talking about Nolan. Nolan has said that his movies are mixed so loud are because the 1570 IMAX cameras he uses to film are extremely loud. So they compress the dynamic range and make it extra loud to compensate. Oh, interesting. So I mean, hey, there's
he uses
a reason.
lot of on location recording. I know that. So like a lot of like he doesn't do a lot of ADR, like additional dialogue recording. Or what. Yeah. So I mean that kind of makes sense, but also why? You have so much. Yeah. I mean I don't know.
Everything else is let's just make everything loud.
Right.
He's a different kind of guy though too.
Yeah.
He intentionally, like, man, when watching Tenet, a lot of times I struggled to understand what they were saying. I'm like, man, what is going on?
More so than most
it was just
content
weird.
movies.
Yeah. But what I found out looking at articles, there were times he intentionally made it difficult for you to understand the dialogue because he wanted you to kind of be engrossed in the story aspect of it. I'm like,
so it's more of an artistic,
weird. Yeah,
like
it's
take
definitely
on it.
weird. So he chose to do that.
Right. So
He's
Martin
a different
says
kind of
that.
guy.
Yeah.
Here, like in Interstellar, Michael Caine's character's dying words. Turns out you weren't supposed to hear them. Hey, I didn't know. I just thought they were near inaudible because Nolan. Funny
Go on
stuff.
and on. I think
Funny
Joe
stuff.
said that Nolan mixes his dialogue in with the Foley track.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like
There you have it. If people are complaining about Nolan's audio, maybe that's detracting from the movie. Maybe not the best decision. That's Joe right there.
Yeah.
Is he still here? He's in the chat.
Yep.
I hope he didn't
couldn't
hear
leave-
when we
leave.
talked all kinds of shit about him.
Hey, you guys did. I was just like listening.
I mean,
to
yes, no, sorry, no, it was just
Brad,
me.
you
It was just
Brad,
me.
you instigated
Nobody
it.
else. It was just me.
I instigated it all.
Oh,
You done offended Reggie. You done offended Reggie.
Brad, you disappoint me. ADR does not mean additional dialogue replacement. It means automated dialogue replacement.
Well,
oh wow.
welcome to the low
Automated
level that
about
we're
it,
all
Reggie.
at.
I'm sorry. It actually has dual meanings.
You've taken yourself down a peg or two in Reggie's
Thanks.
eyes.
If Reggie could tell me what C47s in the film industry stand for, then I will.
Oh,
there's
hey,
another
Reggie.
challenge,
Oh.
another challenge. LLL asks Brad or Chana, do you guys experience Atmos lag while gaming? My Xbox connected to TV, then eARC down to an RZ50. Atmos lag is unplayable. It's interesting.
Yep. ARC for me causes it. If I'm doing any type of Dolby Atmos going over,
And you're on a LG?
yeah,
Which one?
the C1, the C1.
That's so funny. I have nothing. I have no problems. C1 to Marantz, C1 to Denon, no problem at all.
Well, here's the thing. So, like for the next gen or like the current gen consoles, I'll go HDMI direct to the TV sometimes just to to take care or make use of the HDMI 2.1 features. But in that case, I end up using optical because it has lower lower latency. I've tested this numerous times and it sucks. But then you're just limited to Dolby 5.1,
right?
Because the C1s, I don't think any of the LG sets support DTS.
What's wrong with 5.1, man?
No. I'm just
Shots fired.
more of a fan. Nothing wrong with 5.1
every single time.
But I prefer just setting the consoles out. 5.1 linear PCM. I only have a 5.1 or 5.4 technically .2 setup. So 5 bed channels, 2 overhead.
2 overheads.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of issues with ARC. If you have an RZ50, I would just plug right into the RZ50 because it is capable of 4K 120 HDR VRR, and then go from there. Because here I have the Xbox Series X connected to the Pioneer LX505, which is pretty much a clone of the RZ50, and I have no issues whatsoever. Upstairs, the Xbox Series X is plugged in directly to the LG C1, and that's eARCed to whatever's in the rack. A month ago, it was the, what is it called? It was the RCam. And then until wifey got annoyed with RCam. And then now it's back to the Marantz Pre-Pro.
Yeah.
So
I will say if you're in the Xbox like Insider program and you like get their new beta releases or their beta firmware, that might cause issues too, because that happened to me a while ago with Dolby Atmos right into the receiver. And once I left it and rolled back the firmware, it was fine. So sometimes some issues come up because you're essentially testing it.
Yeah. William says, I don't get the point of audio zones when you can just put a wireless smart speaker in a room and use Hios or Sonos to create different audio zones. Yep. We talked about that as well. Croissant says, don't listen to Chana because he hates Yamaha. I don't hate them, Paul. I just really dislike a few things. That's all. I love the DACs. We're running stereo. No YPOW. Let's go. But yeah, I don't hate them.
That's just always so fun to say.
I don't know how to say it. That's the best part, right?
Like a Friends reference here.
Yeah.
That's what my parents used to do. Like when I'd say something stupid, just whoop-pow.
And you turned out just fine.
A lot of stench.
Oh man,
glimpse into Michael's
all coming together.
Love this guy. So let me ask you this, Brad. What would you, if you were going to upgrade now, what would you upgrade?
Right now, receiver. 100%.
Okay, I was going to say other than the receiver because you already said that.
Oh,
would you upgrade your speakers?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I don't know what to.
What do you want to get?
But here's the thing. Unless I get something in for review or I'm really interested in something, I don't research something until I go to buy it. And then it's like balls to the wall research. Like for literally days, I'm
analysis paralysis.
Man.
Right. And then, luckily being in a position like where you can sometimes get, speakers sent to you just to review, it's like, okay, I'll request these and see if they send them. And if I really like them, I'll keep them. I'll buy them or whatever, see if I can work something out. But yeah, speakers would definitely be the next thing after the receiver. The receiver is like, I really want something where I don't have to keep unplugging stuff from the TV back into the receiver just when I, because a lot of games don't really support VRR on the Xbox and PS5 anyway. But as more games come out that do, especially as we get later on in this generation of gaming, I'll definitely want to make use of those features. But this is right now, it's like, at least most games are 60 FPS instead of 30.
So for those wondering, you're talking about the HDMI 2.1 features that are coming out of these games, and so and your AVR just doesn't support that.
Yeah, it can do 4K 60 or 1080p 120. So it's HDMI 2.0.
Right.
I think it's 2.0 B.
Yeah,
something like
if
that.
you have eARC and ALLM, those were on the 2.0 Bs.
Yeah. Yeah. So it supports those, but other than that, no VRR, nothing. So kind of a bummer.
But hey, you know what? Actually, not actually a bad thing, because this time around 2020, we're getting into 2023. A lot of the AVRs now have full 40 gigabit or 48 gigabit bandwidth on all inputs, as opposed to like just the one in 2020.
That was so crazy. We were like, what are y'all doing?
And that was something that I was considering due to like when I was looking for a new TV was I wanted all of the HDMI ports to be HDMI 2.1 compatible, know, and that's what ruled out like the Sony X80J. Right. 880J, I can't remember but it was like their OLED, and I was like, well, it only has two, and one of them is the ARC port, so that's not.
You know what? The new one I reviewed, A80K, still only two, and I accidentally messed up when I was saying it when I did the video. I'm like, are we still in 2020? And are we in? I said something. I tried to say 2022, but I messed up.
And then like 2 years.
I added, and I added a caption. Wait, we're still in 2020, aren't we? And it was pretty funny. Total accident. But it's still only just two HDMI 2.1 ports on all Sony TVs, except like the most expensive one has four. Which is pretty surprising considering LG and Samsung have been having it now. Samsung now this year, all four on all their TVs.
That's awesome.
But LG's had it since 2019, and that's why I bought the E9 because it had still capped at 40 gigabits per second. But hey, whatever. It worked. It works. Still works. I use it in the bedroom still. Except for Dolby Vision, I think is the only thing I don't get 4K 120 Dolby Vision VRR on that 2019 TV. But yeah. No, this is probably a better time to upgrade to an AVR moving into 2023.
Absolutely.
Aaron, I'm looking
I
at
was
you.
just about to say that, bro.
Listen, man, I will fight you any day of the week.
And you'll probably win.
On a skateboard.
Probably win.
Yeah,
on a skateboard. No, on a like a BMX
right,
bike.
Michael.
No, you skate too, though, right?
No.
A little bit.
I'll say yes just to save us from having to go down this awkward conversation hole any further.
I mean,
I thought you'd done some skating though.
No. I mean, I may have tried.
Straight up being okay. I thought you'd done some. Okay.
Crazy,
good, man.
Craziness. All right, so
good timing because it's 8 o'clock here.
Yeah,
we've been at this for a while.
Yeah,
it's 9 here.
2 hours.
I won't stop talking. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Nah, man, you were invited for a reason.
Appreciate it, man.
Chana's the one that does all the talking. Makes fun of Christopher Nolan. Hey, Chris, sorry about my associates. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't share their ideas or their thoughts in any capacity.
If you want to hit me up anytime.
We're still on for lunch tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah,
you got my number.
I was supposed to be an extra in your next film.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean,
the ugly guy in the back.
Hey, Chris Nolan, you want to do a movie with Atmos? I'm your guy. Make sure you give me 6 months though to complete it, and $1 million, and we'll do it.
Don't sell yourself so short, man.
We'll do. Okay, 2 million. Got it.
Don't sell yourself too high. You're price yourself out of a job.
So
I'll give you $1 million too.
So Snoot says for anyone interested, Audio Control now has their XR6 and XR8 in HDMI 2.1. So there you go. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for hanging out. This is the Daily HiFi Podcast. We do this every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you guys like to listen to the audio only version, make sure you go to anchor.fm/Daily HiFi. And we are going to be jumping into the after show. Brad, I don't know if you have time for that. I'll be in there for a little bit, but that is patreon.com/Daily HiFi. Our patrons get to ask us some questions. So if you guys are wanting to do so, definitely jump over there and become a patron. And yeah, thank you so much, Brad, for hanging out with us and shooting the shit.
Nice to meet you.
I mean, yeah,
and
nice to meet you guys.
You didn't do a whole lot of cursing. He was worried about can I curse?
I can put the filter on pretty easily. But no, thank you for having me, and it was a lot of fun. I love talking about this stuff. Yeah, it's a PG version of me. The after show might be different. So we'll see.
Don't go X-rated though. Don't do that. They do have
party.
That's the after flow right there. Right?
Yeah.
All right. On behalf of Brad, Aaron, Michael, Joe, who's still in the chat there, and myself, Chana, we will see you guys next week.